Hello and welcome to the first episode of a new Delta Green game called Operation Bonebox. We're going to play the new Iconoclasts campaign, and I'll explain a bit more of the setup in a sec. But first of all, my name is Andy and I'm the handler. Let me introduce you to my players. We'll start with Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm playing Agent Khar.
Nick.
I'm Nick. I'm playing Agent Pink.
Marc.
Hi, I'm Marc, and I'm playing Agent Sandman.
B.
Hi, I'm B. I'm playing Agent Hawk.
Bruce.
Hi, I'm Bruce, and I'm playing Agent Jones.
And lastly, Tom.
Hi, I'm Tom, and I'm playing Agent Farmer.
Right. Okay. Just to explain for anyone watching this, there's actually a sort of prequel chapter for this, where the players play some pre-gens who are getting themselves into a degree of trouble, which fairly clearly the mission is going to be fixing the mess that they have created. But I'll relay that the bit more details of that in a sec, because there's a found video. Okay, but for the six of you, the date is the 1st of April 2016. You have travelled from various places. I think most of you are in Europe or the Middle East. I don't think anyone's come from America, but you are in Germany at a sensitive compartmentalised information facility, what's called an SCIF, an extremely secure meeting room. It's at a US Marine Corps and Special Forces base in southern Germany called Panzer Catherine. And you have been greeted by one other person who is wearing the uniform of a, where's my mouse gone? Of a US Army colonel. The name tag says Gwyn, and he's introduced himself as Colonel Gwyn, US Army. Okay, whether that's real or a cover, it's not clear. He's certainly your Delta Green briefing officer. Okay.
So we have been told this is something to do with Delta Green.
Yes, you've all been contacted and summoned here for a Delta Green briefing. Yes. Right. And what he does is he puts on a video. It's he says to you it's an edited version of the video to pull out the highlights, because there's a lot of footage. You will get eventually you will be given the full video to watch in case you spot something that they have missed. But he puts on a video. The video is mostly in English with bits of Arabic at points. It's clearly somewhere in the Islamic State controlled parts of Iraq, and Colonel Gwyn tells you it's actually just south of the city of Mosul. The video shows 8 members of ISIL, specifically 5 members of Al-Habash, which is the religious police, and 3 members of Dabaik, which is an ISIL online magazine. They travelled to the estate of a man called Tariq Mohammed Rassam, who they believe has some hidden idolatrous artifacts, taking a whole load of excavation tools, including a backhoe and actually some explosives. There at the estate, they meet 3 people. 2 old men, Rassam, who seems to be evasive, particularly with why his swimming pool was filled in with sand, and Almundis, who appears to be his main servant, who seems to be very loyal to his master. The third person is a young woman who obviously is wearing a full face covering hijab the entire time. So all that's really seen of her is her eyes and her hands. But she is described as Hassoun the maid and is the grandniece of Almundis. She relays to various members of the ISIL team um, various accusations against her master Rassam, accusing him primarily of being a sorcerer who's summoning devils and demons and other entities. Amongst the various incidents that she recounts as proof. The ISIL team search the house and find an extensive library spread across 2 bedrooms and some kind of laboratory where Rassam appeared to be forging sort of gold ball bearings. The ISIL team focused for a while on an air brick in the kitchen that seemed to have a vent going downwards. They were searching, it appears, for some kind of vault or bomb shelter is the information they have that is located underneath or somewhere in the property. And so they became very fixated with this air brick. They then decided to use the mechanical digger they had brought with them, the backhoe, to dig the sand out of the swimming pool, which during the process revealed a false wall at the deep end, behind which was a secure door that looked like it had come from a ship. Clearing away the sand and then opening that doorway revealed a passageway which then turned towards the house and went under the house. All 8 ISIL members plus the 2 old men, Rassam and Elmundis, entered, leaving Hassoun the maid alone in the house. The passageway led to an octagonal chamber containing a number of obvious items. A large, probably bronze amphora in the middle of the chamber, inside a locked metal cage which was 2 meters square. The amphora had something written on it in a language that the ISIL members didn't understand. But there is a still of that captured within the video. There are numerous shelves around the walls containing books, statues and clay tablets. 10 wooden cases the size of footlockers containing scores of clay tablets with writing on them that also the ISIL members didn't understand. Some were taken out and a couple of the ISIL members threatened to destroy them unless Rassam explained what was going on. Lastly, there was a workbench with numerous items on it, including a satellite phone and a journal. One of the ISIL members collected the journal and put it in his bag. Rassam suddenly became terrified and started insulting people before being smashed in the face with a rifle butt. Luckily, the oldest of the ISIL members, a man with only one arm, did some first aid to stop him dying. One of the ISIL members opened the cage and pushed the amphora, which seemed to be very heavy, although it did tilt over. The wax stopper on the top of the amphora was then prized out, and a stream of what looked like small obsidian shards about the size of a fingernail came floating out. Initially, they formed words in the air, including serve and kneel in a number of languages, English, French, Danish, and a couple of others, before swarming the 2 closest men and peeling off all their skin, producing a lot of screaming. The video then goes blurry, with flashes of AKs firing, and the camera is then dropped to the ground shortly before a skinned face drops in front of it, mostly blocking the view of the rest of the chamber. At that point, the video is then stopped. Yeah, whether the battery ran out or it's been not included in the edit, but it's then the video then stops. Okay. In true Colonel Gwyn, rather. By the way, Agents Farmer, Sandman, and Pink can all make luck checks, and Agent Jones can make a luck check at -20.
Yo.
So, Agent
Hey, skated under the line.
Agent Farmer and Agent Pink, you both recognise Colonel Gwyn. You're pretty certain this really is He is not under a false identity.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, just you two.
We
Okay,
didn't want.
Yeah,
We
just
didn't
in
want
case.
to get there.
just in case. Okay, but Colonel Gwyn has the demeanour of a bureaucrat officer. He's a staff officer. He doesn't come across as someone who's probably ever seen very much combat. And this is further illustrated when he starts a PowerPoint presentation and shares.
The worst kind of briefing.
As he's getting started, I'm going to go and try and find myself a cup of coffee.
Okay. So, slide 1. On the 27th of March, the digital video you just viewed was passed to the program from a freelance operative. Intelligence assets have determined the video recorded incident occurred on the evening of the 23rd of March 2016 in territory occupied by ISIL. Is the second slide coming up? Did the first? Sorry, I didn't check. The first slide. Yeah.
No problem.
Second slide coming up.
Just got it. Yep.
The site is a home south of Mosul, Iraq, and north of the Tigris River. The home belonged to Tariq Mohammed Rassam. The event at the home of Tariq Rassam appears to be begun as a propaganda action. The ISIL fighters meant to record themselves finding and destroying Rassam's collection of forbidden artifacts. Yep. Number 3.
Roger.
Slide 3. Tariq Mohammed Rassam was born in 1923. He inherited and managed a family-owned marble quarry outside Mosul. He had advanced degrees in Mesopotamian archaeology from Cambridge University in the UK and the I can't pronounce it. It's some university in Germany. It says Win. He's a patron of the Iraq Museum in Baghdad from its founding in 1966. He's a professor at the University of Mosul from its founding in 1967 until his retirement in 1997. He was married in 1972 to Anja, a University of Mosul librarian. She died of a heart attack in 1983. They had no children. He was a nominal member of Iraq's Arab Socialist Ba'ath Party from 1982 until its banning in 2003. Additional to that, I have some further information. This, however, is passed around on a hat, sort of like a piece of paper to you, rather than part of his presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Beginning in 1940, Rassam and his father worked as intelligence assets for the British SIS or MI6. They aided the overthrow of a fascist coup that threatened to deliver the Kingdom of Iraq into the hands of the Axis. MI6 records show that Rassam came into contact with the OSS during this period, but no OSS records exist to confirm this. CIA records from the 1950s and 60s indicate that Rassam acted as an intelligence asset for both the CIA and the MI6. The intelligence he delivered was low priority, related to internal Iraqi and later Ba'ath Party politics, as they intersected the black market in Mesopotamian antiquities. After the first Gulf War in 1991, Rassam terminated his relationship with Western intelligence services. Nothing more is known about him. He did not have contact with US forces during the occupation of Mosul beginning in 2003. Some of his extended family members acted as US intelligence assets, local translators and liaisons from the 1950s to the 1990s. A large number of them used this relationship to emigrate to Western countries. Other teams are running down these family members and will deliver any actionable intelligence should it arise. I forgot to say to Gwyn, please do interrupt with questions if you have any as we go along.
None at the moment, sir.
None
Yes, sir.
currently.
Right. Your orders. First of all, your cover. Yeah, sorry. First of all, your cover.
You got too many tabs open again, Nandy.
No, I'm just trying to. There's some extra information I need to give you. Sorry, apologies.
All good.
Right. Yeah, is that? Yeah. So, cover. As a group, the CIA and Pentagon believe that Task Force 01132, which is you, are a compartmentalized JSOC task force tasked with tracking down and eliminating a high echelon ISIL actor whose identity is classified. Anyone who presses for details is to be referred to TF 01132's case officer. Your case officer is already in Iraq. I will come to her shortly. You will also be provided with false identities. These have already been provided. The startings of these have already been provided to you to ensure that your travel here was covert. So at a character, that's the identities your characters have used to travel from wherever you were to Germany for this meeting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Your you will shortly be given papers from the Department of Defense granting you freedom of movement within the territory controlled by US forces, the Kurdish Peshmerga, and the Iraqi army. I need to resolve one of two options for each of you. You can either be set up as a low-level Foreign Service officer from the US Embassy in Baghdad, focusing on some particular field of interest to the United States, for example, immigration, infrastructure, the energy industry, and so on. Most people you work with, most people you encounter within most embassy people you encounter will assume that whatever your stated role is, it means you work for the CIA, and they will therefore not ask questions. The alternative is that you are your papers will state that you're a civilian consultant working under contract within the Department of State or the Department of Defense, either as an academic or a scientist, or potentially as a security operative if necessary. Your civilian cover does not need to match your actual background or skills, and obviously do not get into extended conversations about your skill areas if it doesn't. These false identities you've been given all have social security numbers, which are put on the Department of State or Department of Defense rosters as employees or contractors. They have cursory presences on social media. They even have tax filings with the IRS. They have been flagged in Department of Homeland Security databases to prevent interference at the US border, but they have no families at the home addresses. So if there is serious investigation of one of you using that cover, it is likely to reveal the identity is false, and will obviously result in extensive questions for you to answer. Okay. Secondly, currently being worked on by another agent already in Iraq are your ISIL identities. Which will hopefully cover you for use in Mosul. This you can finalize when you meet the logistics officer as part of this task force, Agent Stewart. She's also in Iraq. but there are options there. She will go through them in more detail. You could pose as a citizen of the Islamic State residing in Mosul. You could be an inspector from Al-Hibash, the religious police, or from the all-female Al-Khansa Brigade, which are also female religious police. You could be an officer from Aman al-Dakhili, a unit of the Secret Service responsible for maintaining law and order. That is male only. Or an officer of the Aman al-Askari, a unit of the Secret Service in charge of reconnaissance and special operations assigned from Raqqa to Mosul. That is also male only. Or you could be an officer of the Aman al-Dawala, a counterintelligence service in charge of finding traitors and spies, also assigned from Raqqa to Mosul. Once again, male only. And lastly, an officer of Aman al-Kajaji, the Department of Secret Operations conducted outside the Caliphate, assigned to Operations Command in Operations Command in Raqqa. Once again, male only. There's a lot of options there, but Agent Steward will discuss those further with you on your arrival in Iraq. Right.
Did you say Agent Stewart or Steward?
Steward. Let's go through that. Right. So, as I said, the first thing that your task force will do will proceed to the USAF logistical hub at Kirkuk Airport in northern Iraq and establish a base of operations there. Already there are 3 Delta Green agents. Agent Juliet, who is the case officer, Agent Stewart, who's the logistics officer, and Agent Vanguard, who's the security officer. So, their roles. As far as the CIA are concerned, Agent Juliet is in charge. There is no structure. You can work that out yourselves, but she will act as the person in charge back at base to field any questions that arise. She also can assist in intel gathering from various intelligence organizations operating in and around the Middle East. Agent Steward as a logistics officer. In fact, he will, because just to make sure you meet the right people, he will actually show you photos of them. So,
Quite useful.
no, I don't want that. I want the handout. Agent Juliet, Agent Steward, and then Agent Vanguard. Okay.
Roger.
Agent Steward is has experience in organising the back end of CIA operations. So she will assist in securing equipment and things such as that. Agent Vanguard is his role is to ensure that your home base, your base of operations, is secure. So his role is to provide security there. Okay. Right. So just continuing. There isn't very much data at the present moment as to the exact nature of the incursion. So my recommendation is that you gather intelligence and assets and then make detailed preparations before you attempt to infiltrate ISIL-held Mosul. However, I would recommend that you act with due haste. obviously while preserving OPSEC. There may be a window of opportunity to see what has been left at the residence. So it may be that your first objective should be to travel there and search it.
So do we know if the hostile force, the black obsidian crystals, are still active?
Active there or active somewhere else?
Either
Both,
answer sounds good.
I will come on. I will come on to what we believe about their activities, but the property, and he briefly checks his phone. Yeah. The property has. We've had it under drone coverage for a while, and Agent Steward and Juliet are monitoring this. It appears someone has been there. The truck and the backhoe have gone. It is now being guarded. The site is now being guarded by a force of ISIL troops, but they are not going inside the compound. They are guarding outside, not in. We are unsure why they are camping outside and have not entered, or since we have been observing it, have not entered the compound.
Do we have a forced disposition of the ISIL agents? Numbers, equipment, etc., etc.
It is approximately 30 strong, so it is probably too sizable a force to engage. They appear to have little more than a couple of trucks for transport and personal small arms, and they're ragtag but motivated in much the way of other ISIL troops. It may be that a frontal assault may not be the best method to try and gain entry to the house, but the situation may have changed by the time you get to Kirkuk. So
I suggest we deal with the situation as we find it.
Yeah, I would advise waiting to make plans until you've arrived. Just to be clear, OPSEC is of great importance, and it can only be sacrificed if the immediate threat would compromise OPSEC in any event. Okay.
Are we going to have access to any surveillance assets or anything along those lines? Satellite photographs, drone footage, anything like that? Can we
Well,
task drones?
there is already absolutely.
We still got raptors.
Yes. Please remember, as far as the CIA and JSOC are concerned, just for any, I'm not sure if everyone's clear. JSOC, out of character, JSOC is the Joint Services Operation Command, is like the command elements of the U.S. military. As far as they are concerned, you are a CIA team tasked with hunting down a senior ISIL actor, so senior ISIL commander. So therefore, you can task resources absolutely, and Agent Juliet will be able to facilitate this, but also you through your various connections may be able to do that yourself as well. Okay. Right. Next slide. As we've already discussed, I would recommend going to the Rassam house as soon as possible to retrieve all documents and artifacts as quickly as possible. Right. In answer to the question about as this, please make use of make contact with US and allied services in order to generate operational intelligence. It is please ascertain what happened in the immediate aftermath of the Rassam incident. Please determine details of the incursions and assess whether it remains a threat, its nature, capacities and vulnerabilities. Please prioritize intelligence that will indicate that indicates the threat may be developing towards a public mass casualty event. He then starts to pull some more printouts. Right. Agent Farmer, you asked about further incidents, and he hands around this document. The initial incident was on the evening of March 23rd. There then followed a few hours later at 01:34, 3 ISIL fighters at a checkpoint in the Al-Bath neighborhood of Mosul were found dead and skinned. It appears that the incident at the Rassam house was reported to ISIL counterintelligence by the ISIL religious police the following morning. That night, 2 skinned bodies of ISIL fighters on a night patrol were found in the streets of the Az-Shinaya district. And so on. I'll leave you to read through this in detail. The things to notice from this. There are increasing numbers of incidents where people were found skinned. But then, if I take you to the incident about halfway down, 08:32 on the 25th of March 2016, 7 members of the Ramal family were found flayed alive in their house in the Muthana neighborhood. 2 sons could not be located despite a search of the neighborhood. On a number of incidents, young males of fighting age have gone missing. So it is not always purely bodies being found. Please note that the last incident
30th of March.
So the last incident where bodies were found was on the 29th of March 0919. Yep. Then at 1856 on the 30th of March, there was an intense firefight took place east of the Al-Siana district in the demolished ruins of Nineveh. I'm sure that some of you will be able to lecture me on Nineveh, but it is essentially an ancient city, the core of the ancient city that Mosul is built on.
Mm-hmm.
Police and military units were ordered out of the area by the head of Aman al-Dawar, the ISIL counterintelligence in Mosul, a man named Ahmad al-Jabiri. Since the 29th of March, there have been no incidents of skinned bodies found. It seems to have been going on almost nightly and then stopped.
So remind me of the current date.
1st of April. So it's, the second bottom line, no pertinent incidents have been reported as of the 1st of April.
So only 2 days.
Which is 2, yeah. But it was pretty well an attack every night. Well, no, it's a bit more than 2 days because nothing from the 29th of March. So the last thing was the 29th of March, 31st. Yeah, 2 nights. Yes, apologies. 2 nights.
Yeah, because today is the 1st of April.
Point of
Now-
interest is that a number of these incidents report individuals escaping with injuries and transported to Arkansas Hospital. There might be some interesting conversation to be had there.
Certainly. Just to put everything on a map. As you can see, the first incident is to the south of Mosul. That's the Ressam household. And then everything from there onwards is within the city of Mosul. Okay. Please note that the incident on the 30th of March, this firefight, that may be unconnected. It may be related to some form of dissent within ISIL. Police and military units ordered out. ISIL counterintelligence engaging someone, unclear who. That may be unrelated. Okay. Right, I've nearly finished my briefing. Next. So your short-term objective is to search the house and see what you can recover from there. Secondly, please locate the incursion and neutralize it. You're authorized to infiltrate the territory of ISIL under the cover of pursuit of a high-value ISIL target. And we've already talked about cover identities. Just to be very clear on OPSEC, of even greater importance than neutralizing the incursion is ensuring that no other actor or player, whatever you want to call them, in the current regional crisis gains access to or understanding of this phenomenon. Russian forces are very active in Syria. The Iranian Quds force operates openly in Syria and covertly in Iraq. No allied forces can be trusted with details of the incursion under any circumstances. You will guard that information with extreme prejudice. By all means, make use of them, but do not explain what is going on. And lastly,
I'm already excited to use the no time to explain explanation multiple times on just mook border guards and checkpoint guards.
okay. Lastly, just to reiterate something we've already talked about, you have access to US Central Command resources, but there are some limits. We've been through your cover identities. Getting hold of US troops, should you need some kind of additional military force, will be possible but difficult. You might be better to make use of Iraqi army or Kurdish Peshmerga troops. Right.
I know which one I'd rely on.
So allied
Andy,
forces are out of the question then.
The
British, the French, etc.
they're not actually active in the region at the moment. There's right. So let me give you that. Right. I have shared this with you before, but just so you've seen it. On the 24th of March, so literally the day after the incident took place, the Iraqi army and the Kurdish Peshmerga forces launched Operation Conquest. The resulting surge in radio traffic made it difficult to monitor ISIL communications in real time. The Signet is continuing to produce significant results as ISIL commanders rely more on unsecure communications. Operation Conquest intends to position Allied forces to encircle Mosul and test the city's defences for full assault. Allied forces comprise 36,000 troops, including 200 US Marines and 500 military advisors, supported by US airstrikes. Intelligence reports estimates that ISIL is defending Mosul and its suburbs with between 12,000 and 20,000 combatants. As of 1st of April, fighting is currently confined to areas to the south and east of Mosul. The situation is extremely fluid, and ISIL forces in the region are on high alert. Okay, so you are entering the middle of a war zone, ladies and gentlemen, just to be very clear.
Just the way we like it. Yeah.
The front is very fluid. I know that Agent Stewart has already acquired what are best described as sanitized vehicles to allow you to pose as ISIL operatives. Okay. I'm sure that's generated.
Sorry, go on.
I'm sure that's generated a vast amount of questions. It sounds like you have one, Agent Jones. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, as Agent Jones was watching that video and seeing some of the background artifacts, and more specifically the end sequence, whether that triggered anything in his sort of memory or mind about
firstly,
what that might be.
Much more important. Much more immediate, rather. That's the word I'm looking for. Both Agent Jones and Agent Khar, you recognise the language on the language on the amphora and the language on the tablets. It is the same language. It is called Arcadian, and it translates as this. The father of war waits, hungry to lick the skin from the world. War his endless gift, blood his endless price. Free him and pay.
Wow, that's deeply unsettling.
Yeah, that's optimistic, isn't it?
It's certainly a statement.
Hence why
everybody's worried,
and hence why you are going in.
I feel I've got some vacation time owed all of a sudden.
May I remind you that working for Delta Green garners you no pay, no holiday time. In fact, quite often operatives use their holiday to participate in missions.
Another day in the Corps.
Yeah.
I love the Corps.
If any of you if anyone does not wish to participate in this, you are welcome to withdraw. But I obviously need to maintain OPSEC.
Just look at this cool pen that I happen to have.
Yeah.
Sir, why us? Apart from our ethnicities and presuming language skills, why us?
So, Agent Khar should be able to lead infiltration efforts into ISIL occupied territory. Agent Jones clearly has knowledge of relevant archaeological and items of antiquity. Agents Sandman and Pink are there partly for security, but also I'm sure they'll contribute a damn sight more than that. Agent Hawk has investigation skills, and Agent Farmer is a member of the intelligence community, should we say that, and may have other useful skills to bring as well. But also, fundamentally, all of you speak the local languages well enough and have an ethnicity that should allow you to pass as, if not locals, at least people who can make sense to be in ISIL territory. Does that answer that question?
Yes, sir.
You will have plenty of time to discuss your various skills and areas of expertise, but so I say that I have every confidence in you.
So have we got any idea how the video footage got out? How was it obtained?
That is the next part of the briefing. Before I take you to speak to the next part of your briefing, are there any further questions at this stage?
Many
Information
Boffins
gather-
died to get that tape.
Thank you, Agent Pink.
Information information gathering, retrieval, containment is the basic
How do-
idea.
Yes.
How do we get a-
I would
How do we
start.
get a sharp genie back in a bottle?
That is for you to figure out. I don't know the answer to that question. Please figure it out.
That'll be a cinch.
We can, however, at least eliminate gunfire as one of the potential solutions.
Yes, I would
It
suggest.
seemed to work that well.
Yes, I would suggest that firearms be restricted to security with more earthly threats.
It's usually
Right. But yes, Asian Farmer. To sum up, I would recommend that you start by entering ISIL territory as soon as possible to go to the house and retrieve whatever artifacts are still there. And I would then suggest some intelligence gathering as to what to do next. You need to find where this whatever it is that has come out of that amphora is, and how to combat it. Obviously, there's no point attempting to engage it until you have some method for fighting it.
Well, the good news is that it's extremely likely that it's no longer at the compound. So it seems like it's moved on, so that should be relatively safe
Yes.
to gather information, apart from the 30 ISIL fighters hanging around.
Yeah, well, they're on the outside. We'll just have to be on the inside.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let us move to the next stage of the briefing. Please come with me. And he gets up and leads you out of the meeting room you're in. Okay. And he takes you to the what I think a number of you will recognise clearly as the base stockade, the prison on this Marine Corps and Special Forces base. Before we enter the next stage of the briefing, please may I have your phones? And he collects
Hand over my phone.
collects all your phones.
I'm not sure I have one, but okay.
Yeah, and he collects all phones and other recording devices. Okay.
That's quite an unusual thing to do, isn't it?
Yep.
If we're already cleared for top secret.
Yep.
Can I take the battery out of my phone? It's like an older model, and just take the battery out, hand him the phone, but keep the battery.
Yep, certainly.
I pocket the battery.
That doesn't seem to phase him at all.
I've
Right.
probably got an ancient bust-up old thing.
Nothing
Yeah.
3310, yeah.
Agent Jones will have
classic.
2 phones.
Are you handing both over?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. He then takes you into what appears to be the isolation section of the stockade within the base. and initially takes you. You see a door with two Marines guarding it. Sorry, my. Oh, no, wrong. There. Two Marines guarding it, but he takes you actually into the room next through a door adjacent to it, and you're into like an observation room that has a two-way mirror. Sorry, is that what the professor? Yeah, yeah, two-way mirror. So clearly there's a mirror on the other side, and you can see through it. You can see a man. This man. This is Sloane. What you can see is man probably about mid-60s. He's dressed in a civilian cargo trousers, pants, and a white vest. He's handcuffed to the table. One of those ones where he's got handcuffs with a chain going through a secure loop to the table, and undoubtedly, Agent Hawk. This is something you recognise. This kind of setup. You're probably the most. The table undoubtedly absolutely securely bolted to the floor, and he's sitting there, singing to himself, badly. Want some whiskey in your water, sugar in your tea. What's all these crazy questions they're asking me? This is the craziest party that could ever be. Don't turn on the light, 'cause I don't want to see. And he then seems to be staring at the mirror like he knows he's being observed.
There's a light on in there.
In the
in the room.
In the interrogation room.
In the interrogation room, yes, there's a light on. Yeah.
Okay.
Is he singing in English
Yes,
or Arabic?
English.
Does he have an accent?
American.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, we've
So
obviously
who's
been brought
this
here
guy?
for a reason, so
So
we'll
ask-
look to the
well,
briefer.
This is Sloane, says Gwyn. And then,
And Sloane is.
sorry, what did you say?
And Sloane is.
The
Singing in
man.
English, is he American?
He is American, and he is the person, the asset that brought us the recording. Let's go and talk to him. And then Gwyn takes all six of you into the interrogation room. Gwyn sort of stands to one side, but the other seven of you standing in front of him is quite packed. So if you want to spread around, by all means do. But the number of people in this room now it's not that big a room. It's quite packed.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to sit it like down at the desk at the table in front of him without being in any reach?
Absolutely. There are two chairs there to be sat down. Even if he was to stretch one arm and put the other one as close to the hook on the table, he wouldn't be. You know how far to sit that you wouldn't be within reach.
Hold on, this leaves me with more questions for Colonel Gwyn. Sorry. So why is he, if he's one of our assets, why is he chained up in a cell?
So you are saying this before you go in?
Yes, I would
Yeah,
think that was
yeah.
implied. I'm dragging him aside and saying,
I'm humming a tune. Mama told me not to come. Mama told me not to come. That ain't no way to have fun. That ain't no way to have fun, son.
Right. That is complicated, Khar. Very complicated.
make it simple.
Yes.
Is he violent?
No.
Has he attacked anybody?
No.
Is he possessed?
Nope. No, nothing like
No?
that. No.
PTSD.
Quite possibly.
Okay. So what's this
Sounds
guy's
like you
name?
Sounds like you shouldn't be,
Let him tell you his story, because it's better for you to hear it firsthand than me recount it. And also, I suspect that he will tell you more details than he told me, because you are going in to solve the situation, whereas I am not.
Give him a sidelong glance.
Anyone else? Anything before you go in?
Oh, let's hear what he has to say, don't you reckon?
Okay, so you go in and say it's quite
he
packed.
gets a dark look from me.
Gwyn does.
Yes.
Okay, when you go in,
Yeah, that answers the question.
yeah. This doesn't seem to phase Gwyn at all. When you go in, so Hawk, are you sitting down then?
Yeah, I take a seat.
Anyone else sitting down?
No,
There's one
I'll
more
lounge
seat.
at the back
Okay.
against the mirror.
Right. So
I'll
as you
take a seat.
I'm going to sit on the floor.
okay, and so was that Farmer's going to sit as well? Yeah.
Farmer's going to sit at the desk, yeah.
Okay. Okay. As you come in, Sloane looks at you, each of you in turn, quite clearly sizing you up.
I'm
Each
going
of
to
you in
attempt to
turn.
adjust my body language and posture to imply that I'm definitely the most junior person present and not really worth paying attention to.
Okay.
I'll just maintain a confident swagger.
I've just remembered something I forgot to do. Apologies. Please, from watching the video, please can you all make sand rolls?
Oh, and
Yeah.
Right, that's what it's
Starting
done.
already.
as
Starting
Ambassador
already.
Kosh once said, and so it
Sand
begins.
rolls.
So it
Yeah.
starts.
And so it begins.
Oh,
So you just click sanity, do you?
Yep, I think.
Okay.
You can have a modifier plus 100.
Did all of you succeed on that?
Wow.
Critical success.
Yeah, none of you lose any sanity at all from watching that video.
Oh, we're hardened.
Yep, you're clearly
Hard
hardened.
and ancient.
I half
Yeah.
think that it's doctored. Fake.
There was a
Well,
question I
wait,
wanted to ask you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
fact,
Go ahead.
Andy, I think actually, yeah.
I was going to
Doesn't
say notably, because would that be Sandy loss due to the extreme violence of it? Because if that's the case, because I have the veteran.
No, it's sanity lost
thing.
due to the unnatural.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay, I just wanted to double check that.
Yeah. Don't worry. Mark, sorry, you had a
Question,
question.
keeper.
Yeah.
Question to the keeper.
Handler. It's Delta
All
Green.
right.
Not Cthulhu.
Oh yeah, handler. What's the size of this shard cloud that came out and
Yep.
formed? How big?
Um,
Swarm of bees or like a gigantic?
no, gigantic. I mean, you're going off the video footage. I mean, it's a big amphora, very, very big bronze amphora, but it looked like more shards came out than could have been inside.
Still
Even
okay.
even without any extensive maths, it just looked like it just kept spewing them and spewing them and spewing them and spewing them. It was forming words and so on.
So folded really neatly inside.
Possibly, yeah. Okay. As I
So
said,
we go
Heck
in
of
and
the lethal origami.
Yeah.
So we go in and we stand, or some of us are standing, and
Yeah.
me and Agent Farmer will sit.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
So anything else?
Hawk says she'll sort of like wait for his. He's reading everybody else. When he looks at her, he says, "Sloane, I think your name is. Is that correct?
Yes.
I hear you've got something to tell us. Do you mind sharing?"
He glances round you all. So, you're the cast for this night at the opera.
For our sins.
Right.
looks to be that
Now,
fella.
do any of you in character know what that phrase means?
I would have
you
thought
think-
so.
No. So at the slightly blank looks, he then turns to look at Gwyn and says, "You program fucks have got a hell of a lot more dull since 9/11." Okay. Right. He turns back to Hawk because Hawk seemed to be the person leading the questions. Okay.
Mm.
I've got some intel that might just keep you alive with what you're about to come up against. Rassam was a World War II Delta Green asset who dropped off the board back in about 1970 when Delta Green got disbanded. At this point, Gwyn cuts in and goes, "No, stop the politics. Just the briefing. Cut the politics."
How does he respond to that? How does Sloane respond to that? Like to the Gwyn cutting him, cutting him off.
He sort of shakes his head in a bit of sort of exasperation.
Bit laconic,
year
seen it
was
all
that?
before.
Sorry, Andy, what year was that? When he
Uh,
said he was disbanded?
In the
70s.
back in 70 when Delta Green got disbanded.
Right, 1970. Cool.
So anyway, Rassam dropped off the board. He used to be an asset, then he stopped being in contact. What we used to call a Delta Green friendly. He reached out to Delta Green recently to try and get what he called the Throne of Blood, which is that caged amphora that you've seen, out of Iraq. I and a partner organised a pickup at Rassam's place, but ISIL struck first. When we got there, the vault had become a bloodbath. We weren't sure how much time we had before more ISIL turned up. So we, before more ISIL turned up, or the thing from the amphora came back. So we took the digital camera and the satellite phone and the stopper from the amphora for obvious reasons, and got the hell out of there. You've seen
So we
the
got the
Found
amphora.
yourself.
So we got the amphora, right?
no
We've got a stopper.
Just the
Stopper.
stopper.
He turns to Gwyn and says, "You've shown them the stopper. You've shown them the elder sign, haven't you?" And
Nope.
Gwyn shakes his head no. Sloane gets quite angry. And then says, "That seems pretty fucking mission critical, doesn't it? What are you sending these poor fuckers in for? They need to know about everything that's going on." Gwyn then turns to you and says, "What I'm about to show you and explain to you is one of the most restricted and bits of compartmentalized information within the program." He's got he produces a radio from a pocket and appears to radio someone and just says, "Bring it to the interrogation room." And then within about 2 minutes, during which Sloane shakes his head in exasperation while Gwyn glares at him, 2 armed Marine MPs appear escorting a woman in plain clothes with wearing body armor. And she's carrying what is clearly a reinforced lead-lined aluminium briefcase that is handcuffed to her wrist. Gwyn unlocks the case from her wrist and then dismisses her and the Marines. Gwyn then puts the case on the table in front of Hawk and Farmer, and says, "Right."
Pull it slightly towards her so it's out of reach of Sloane.
Yep. Okay. This case requires a 6-digit code to open it. Do not write it down. The code is 767492. But make sure you remember it and get it right when you enter it, because the case has a charge of thermite in it to destroy the enclosed item if it is opened without the code.
Whatever for, sir.
Farmer, open the case. You pulled it towards you. What code you're entering?
767492.
Right. Which you haven't written down anywhere.
Nope.
Okay. Popping open the case. Inside the case is the bronze stopper from the amphora from the video. On the interior surface of it is a strange symbol that seems to draw the eye like a hypnotic pattern. And it is this.
Really?
Gwyn says that glyph. Sorry, did that pop up?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
That glyph is a 2-dimensional representation of a higher dimensional mathematical construct. Our experience has demonstrated that it can damage or repel certain inhuman intelligences. This formula also disrupts manipulations of time-space. It can make sure things that are outside all of this stay that way. Other versions may exist. They are potent, but only if deployed properly.
Right, it just seems like it's quite an important object, so perhaps surrounding it in thermite, where it could easily be accidentally destroyed, might be a mistake.
The mistake would be to release it, for someone to obtain it who was not authorized to have it. I'm turning it over to you. I would recommend that you keep it in the case with the thermite, but that is for you to decide.
Oh.
So these things are kind of rare.
6-pointed.
5-pointed. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm talking to myself.
Yeah, sorry. In answer to your question, actually, Sloane speaks up and says, yes, they're rare, but they come in different forms. The lines are not normally as straight as this. The lines are normally more curved. It's more artistic normally. This is very regular. I've not seen one like this before. But just understand, Gwyn there will tell you it's something called hypergeometry, and that it can bypass physics. And if he's being generous, he'll tell you that there's a price you pay if you use this symbol. We call it the Elder Sign. But don't think of it as something fancy like hypergeometry. It's magic, the real stuff. But it's understand. How do I put this? An elder sign makes an excellent bar for a door, but it's a piss poor flak jacket. Yeah, it'll stop things coming through a restricted space unless they can go around. So my guess is that it was sealing the stopper. The elder sign on the bottom of the stopper was sealing whatever it was in that amphora.
Which means
And
that
Gwyn
the
nods in
amphora-
agreement. Sorry, yeah.
No. It would suggest then that the amphora has some power to it as well and is missing. If
Yes.
they could get around the seal
Yes.
and not just break out of the amphora,
It
must be.
It would suggest exactly that.
Okay.
Whether the amphora is missing or not, I don't know. That's what I hope. I hope Gwyn has told you the first thing to do is go and see what else you can recover from the site.
How did
We
you
figured
learn
that one.
about the site?
Rassam reached out to his old Delta Green contacts.
So you're Delta Green.
I'm the real Delta Green, not you program fuckers.
Old school, yeah.
Can I look at?
Gwyn goes, no politics. Cut it
Do
out.
any of us know any of this history in character?
No, not at all in character.
Right.
This sounds. There's clearly something going on here.
Yeah, okay, that.
Sounds like two factions fighting.
No, it sounds like he's from the original Delta Green that was before it was disbanded.
Right.
Precisely.
Sloane continues. Right. Okay. Rassam reached out to his old contacts, and I don't know how, but whatever contact got a hit, it was with my version of Delta Green, not your version of Delta Green. And we had arranged to pick up this throne of blood, as he calls the amphora, to get it out. But things went wrong beforehand. And the two of us that went in there, as I said, grabbed what we could and ran before we would.
Who was your partner?
You don't need to know about him.
He would be an asset to us.
As the investigation goes,
Right.
more intel.
Okay. You're the Delta Green with all the money and the access to the big fancy toys. So we're passing the baton to you guys on this one. I mean, do you actually understand how this works? Essentially, I'm blown now. My Delta Green will sever all ties with me. I mean, Gwyn here, he's debating whether to put 2 bullets in my head when he's finished getting all the information out of me he can for you. That's what he's thinking at the moment. Whether I'm a security risk or not. But and you could sit here and torture me to give you all my contact details for the original Delta Green. No, I don't mean you guys. I mean Gwyn. But that all of my, I'm out. I'm done. This is my retirement. Yeah. So I'm not going to blow my colleague I went in with because he's alive and operating and safe and not involved in this anymore.
Is there such thing as insight checks in these games, or is it just
Humint? I think you're quite good at it from memory.
I
I
believe I
think
am.
I'll want to be doing that as well because I'm sitting opposite.
Yeah. Well, no, anyone can do a human roll if you want.
Yeah, I was about to say it's in the room.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know where my
We're
character
all in
sheet
the
is.
room, aren't we? Under the journal section.
No.
I'm
I've
not
got
being-
no. I've minimised all the tabs so they're all like jumbled on the little front page.
Ah.
Human, yeah.
Yeah.
No good from me.
No good for me.
But I get it.
Me and
I totally get it. He's covering his
Yeah.
buddy's back. That's
Yeah, no,
exactly what to
absolutely.
do
So
as well.
success from Hawk, failures from Sandman and Khar. Oh, success from
Success.
Farmer as well. Sorry.
Yeah.
Pink and Jones, you're not bothering. No. Okay. Right. He is clearly, as I said, a man who's clearly got some kind of PTSD, undoubtedly. He's quite possibly suffering from some sort of depression as well. He appears to be telling the truth. He also strikes you instantly as someone who you could threaten to shoot him and he wouldn't care. It wouldn't make him reveal anything he didn't want to reveal.
Mm.
Okay. Okay. So, sorry.
When he,
Go on.
sorry, yeah, when he said his partner is no longer part of this situation, he's safe. We're not going to know about this partner, etc. And he's left it alone because the baton is being passed to us. Is he speaking truthfully that he believes, or that we believe he's speaking truthfully, that his partner has left it alone?
Yes.
He's no longer going to be involved.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
Yep. Okay. So Sloan continues. We went there. We found the situation, recovered the video, the phone, and the
Stopper.
the stopper, and we realised it was containing this was too big for my Delta Green, so the decision was taken to pass it to your Delta Green to effectively get some values for our black budget tax dollars. All right. Rassam called what was inside. Sorry. Rassam called the amphora the throne of blood.
Right.
Okay. And he knew something about the occupant, and what he told us, it wasn't much. What he told us was that the imprisoned entity was in Arabic was called Abu Harb, which is ABU HARB. In English, that's Father of War. Rassam said that he could feel the occupant of the amphora. So just by being nearby it, he could feel its presence. And he said that Rassam also said that it was worse for people who had not been touched by those outside. People would get horrible nightmares. The guess is that was a side effect of whatever's inside pressing on the walls of its prison. I don't really know. Rassam had been researching the Father of War for decades, collecting Assyrian tablets from a series or a volume called Winds Unknown to Adad. And
spell Adad?
ADAD. I don't know much more about that. My guess is that it's the tablets that were in his in the vault in his bomb shelter. Whether they were just the ones in the cases, I don't know. I know that Rassam had said what he had was incomplete. He did not have the full winds unknown to Adad. But it did, from what his research did, it suggested that the Father of War was vulnerable to sunlight, potentially even bright moonlight. He reckoned that might slow it down, but this was a theory. He still, regardless, was too scared to open the amphora just under the noon sun. The Father of War, though, must be vulnerable to hypergeometry or magic, or whatever you want to call it, because that's how it was trapped in the amphora. And that there may be some clue as to what kind of magic harms it if you can recover the amphora and then those tablets. That might be something that he wanted us to take all the tablets as well. It wasn't just the amphora we take out, it was all those cases of tablets.
Sure.
And he also had hinted that he was trying to put together some technique to get rid of the occupant forever.
Okay.
But just understand, Gwyn sort of hinted at it, but just to be clear, this hypergeometry shit, it'll melt your brain if you ever try and make sense of it. It's something to use in a last resort. Okay. I need to go for a quick comfort break. Carry on talking amongst yourselves. Well, we start have to have a discussion if you want about things.
Okay. What other questions do we need to ask, do you reckon? What time Jim comes back?
Okay, so we can't really speak about the real Delta Green because he won't break on that. Me and you know that.
I don't think it's important right now. I think that regardless,
so
what's in front of us has nothing to do with that particularly.
Yeah, but
Must remember the mission.
Winds unknown to Adad is in Syrian.
Yeah, which is on those Syrian tablets.
Yeah.
We saw one of them broken, didn't we, on the video?
Yes, and I've just twigged something.
Yeah.
And I need to see if Andy will actually allow me to twig it in character.
Or whether it's on the...
We've got the full video to watch on a C-17 journey across to Iraq.
That's right. No, like I say, I've just twigged something and I need to check if Andy will allow it.
Okay.
We,
what about other questions for this
how
guy?
Rattan got hold of it?
Well, he said that Rattan got in contact with old contacts he had before the real Delta Green was disbanded. So, because he was an asset for them.
Yeah,
so
but how did he get it? That was because he had it.
Did he get it on a dig?
Yeah.
Didn't the things that they grabbed include the stopper? It also included the video and the journal. Did you say, Andy?
No, the mobile phone.
Mobile phone.
The sat phone.
Sat phone.
Andy.
Yep.
Okay. I've just twigged something. I just need to check if my character has a chance of twigging it.
Yep.
Okay. So, gold is usually used to represent the sun in a lot of religious and archaeological things.
Mm-hmm.
And Rassan was making small golden beads.
Yep.
Can I link that to it being used in a weapon or as a weapon?
Quite possibly, yeah, absolutely fine.
Okay.
Have you got any occult skill?
I probably don't. Not more than base.
But to us, that's fine.
But I do have history, though. Where's that called? Hang on.
No, you got
I've
based
got 10%.
Yeah, that's fine. That's it.
10%.
I'm fine with you drawing that conclusion. Absolutely fine.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
You're keeping it to yourself.
No, but I will be saying it outside of. When we
outside
get
of
out of this.
Gwyn's earshot.
Yeah, and definitely outside of Sloane's earshot. Actually, Gwyn.
Fancy playing the card now?
Yeah, Sloane seems to
not?
know about hypergeometry.
He
than
knows
any
more
of us.
than most people in this room, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he's
It
an
might
old
be the
school
only
player.
chance to get to talk to Sloane.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it will
I
be.
think
We'll
you're
be heading
thinking the
out.
same way I am. I think that Sloane's waited chained up to this desk.
I do too. But he might be
Yeah.
quite dangerous if you have him with us.
Is this a conversation that's taking place? I mean, if you want to, you can go and have a conversation
yeah.
out the room and come back.
No, I'm actually just going to.
So actually,
ask
if we're going to have,
Sorry,
we're
so
gonna have a private-
Chris, let Tom was just say something.
I want to ask. I'm going to ask Sloane directly something. So, which is basically, you know more about this hypergeometry than I do.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So, all the stories, all the myths and legends, obviously they'll have a kernel of truth somewhere before it gets all translated. Are these entities sometimes vulnerable to certain precious metals or precious stones?
Not sure. I don't know. I wouldn't rely on it.
Okay.
Might be something worth checking out, but it's a hell of a thing to test.
Yeah, exactly. You don't get one shot at it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Because you'd either hurt it or you get fucked by it.
It's better than no shots, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Sorry,
if we
it's
draw,
worth a try.
So, Chris, you're saying?
if we draw from common folklore, then and we assume that common folklore, in the same way as myth and legend, generally draws from something in grounded in reality. Common folklore has silver and garlic and things like that being effective. Perhaps there is something there. Actually, the point I was going to make just a second ago, can we, in character probably, have a quick round robin where each of us just says what our specialties are? I've got no idea who any of you guys are.
We'll do that when we. Yeah, we'll do that when we get
do
out.
you want to say? All right, let's backtrack a sec, because sort of Gwyn gave brief summaries. Why don't before you came to talk to Sloane, let's just rewind time a sec. Do you want to just give a quick blurb about each of you, what your cap is? So if you remember, he talked about just for Gwyn's sort of brief summary is Agent Khar seemed to be the expert to get you sort of into Mosul, was his phrase. Agent Jones sort of understands the archaeological side and antiquities and so on. Agents Pink and Sandman are security and can provide some medical support. I'm not sure he actually said that. And then Agent Hawk is an investigator, and I think his phrase for Agent Farmer was that he's dialed into the intelligence community.
Yep.
But by all means, go ahead and take some time to just talk about your skills. It would not, just to be clear, it wouldn't. I mean, you would be keeping things like your real names, and quite possibly exactly who you work for would probably be confidential. But so talking generalities rather than specifics.
Well, since I started this, I'll just elaborate a little bit because that brief thing may have given you the impression I'm an expert on survival. That's definitely not the case. I'm more the persuasive kind of person. My specialties are anthropology and sort of human manipulation, human intelligence. So I'm all about deep cover, going into places, insinuating myself, making myself at home, and trying to draw information. I should be able to help from the point of view of providing linguistic support. I could, making the group appear to belong.
Useful.
So not
I've
infiltration.
been in.
Physical, but
Yes, exactly. I've actually I've been in ISIL territory for the last 4 years. I wouldn't be going back if it was anyone else asking.
Understood.
I'm an intelligence analyst currently. Before that, I was a CB. So
Does
any
everyone
of
know what a
you-
CB was?
only if you were military.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I
if
don't
you
think
if
you
you
would-
don't know, yeah.
Yeah, so if you were military, you would know a CB is basically the naval construction.
Okay, I look blank.
Say?
I look blank.
Yeah, okay. So so they're basically naval construction, but also they can be specialists within that, including actually going into combat zones.
Hmm. Yeah, the CBs actually have like a bunch of underwater demolition stuff too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who'd like to go next?
I might as well. All right, I'm Agent Pink, Special Operations. I'm one of your shooters, but I'm also a trained combat medic, and am an expert in escape and evasion.
Okay.
Cool.
Who's next?
I'm Agent Sandman, and I'm also another shooter, but I've got a fairly wide range of alternative support skills, which you might always rely on if the going gets a bit hot.
Go on, Bruce. You first.
I'm Agent Jones I'm an archaeologist. I have a specialty in Middle Eastern cultural heritage. Yeah, I should know a little bit. I was just debating actually, Andy, whether he'd actually been to Mosul in his travels already.
Quite. If you want to have been, it would make perfect sense, but it would be. I mean, he quite possibly has been there to look at the Nineveh site. It wouldn't be in recent years.
No, sure.
Yeah.
When you mentioned that, I just mentioned that I was an archaeology major
Excellent.
at university.
Seems like it's going to serve us quite well then, information-wise.
Yep.
I specialise in investigating trafficking, cults, and investigating in general. That's about it, really. I'm a kind of general skills for everything. Pretty good at human. Reasonably good at psychotherapy.
Cool. Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you. Just as we progress now, as we're talking now, I have an idea.
Yeah.
who's
Okay.
talking.
So, forwarding time again back to your conversations with Sloane.
3, 2, 1, back in the room.
Right. You got any more questions for me, Sir Sloane?
Yeah.
Have you got guys on the outside who might have any idea of this thing, or is this all new for you old schoolers as well?
We've not had any. I have never had any contact with Rassam myself pre this op, this busted op. I am unaware of anyone who has been had previous contact with him. Once, from what I was told, once he had made contact, and his contact was to be giving people the number of his satellite phone, and there was then, once he was called by someone from Delta Green, there were extensive conversations where he was relaying a lot of what I've just told you. But
Do you know how he came about getting that item? The amphora?
no, we took it to see if there was anything useful on it. The only numbers of it were contact numbers for that we had supplied for him to call us, and the only other numbers it's been used to call are Kurdish smugglers, and we've tracked it. They were a group that he linked us up with, who were going to help with the heavy lifting of moving that amphora. That thing is, do not underestimate the weight of that. That's heavy. And then 10 cases of these clay tablets and so on. That's clearly there's quite a bit of weight there. And
Yup.
there were more tablets on the wall, so there could well be more weight as well.
Yeah, like this might be more than just a couple trucks worth of stuff.
I think it's probably a truck's worth,
Yeah.
but
Go in the back of a B-22 Osprey.
I would imagine so.
I don't know how we'd get an Osprey into there without all those insurgents shooting it down, though.
Yeah, it is a bit.
No, it's
Also,
truck-
Ospreys actually don't do very well in desert conditions either.
Yeah, they do suck in quite a lot of stuff to their engines.
Yeah, the desert has shot down more Ospreys than paramilitary
It's small
organizations.
arms, right.
Yeah.
I would. Gwyn cuts in. I think for your initial insertion, I would advise going over land. It's complete chaos, fractured frontier.
Yeah,
Honestly, flying around and anything like that, you're going to get shot down by someone enthusiastic person with a old
no, I'm
Soviet.
thinking of extraction. That's all. Get out quick, but we're getting well ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have one last question. My character does for Sloan, which is, all right, from old DG to new. Got a line on any green boxes that are left in the area?
I don't know of any that are there. The green boxes that I've only ever known about have been in the States.
All right.
Look over to our
Literally
briefing
no.
officer.
Oh, furrowed brow. No idea.
As an OC, would we know what a green box is?
Have you been on a Delta Green mission before?
Probably not.
If
I
you've
think
been,
I've been working with you guys for like 2 years.
yeah, but if you've been on a Delta Green mission before, particularly in the States, sometimes they've got these boxes set up which are secure locations where you can. The idea is that there are places that you might have some equipment that might be useful to you, but over time they've also become used as stashes where people stash things.
Well,
Quite possibly
yeah.
things that they don't know how to dispose of other ways. So
It started off, from what I know correctly, in universe at least, it was especially after the fall of the original DG, like out of character. All of this is
Nick, actually, let's
Okay.
let's
Yeah.
let's leave it for the moment
Yeah.
because
Yeah, actually, we are on a time crunch. Can't
no,
quite get into that.
no,
But
no.
there's a whole thing behind that.
Yeah. I know. Right.
Mhm.
One last question from me. What advice would you give us? Honest advice.
What besides don't trust him, and he points at Gwyn.
Yeah, beside that.
Find some way to combat it before you try and engage it. I think you've got, as far as I can see, you've got 3 tasks. Recover. Well, they're 2 tasks, but one of them has a first part. Firstly, you need to find out everything you can about the entity. So that becomes your first task, which is to go and see what's there. We grab what we could. I wish we'd grabbed more. I don't know if you've seen on the video, but there was a journal on the guy's desk, on Rassam's desk. Had we have seen that, we would have grabbed it. But only when we watched the video did we see that one of the ISIL guys stuck it in a bag. So is that there? I would also do your research before you try and engage it. I can give you some other ideas of a couple other things to think about. One, I hadn't met Rassam. I hadn't even spoken to him on the phone. Colleagues of mine have spoken to him on the phone. But looking at that video, there's clearly something going on there. The guy was 90
something.
Yeah, he didn't look 90.
97.
Yeah, he's
Sorry, wait. 92. If it's 2015.
it's 2014. 90. He's sorry, he's born 94. He's 93. He did not act like a man. I mean, he acted like an old man, don't get me wrong, but not a 93-year-old. Yeah. Also, there were 8 ISIL guys, 2 men and a woman. We had time to search the house and the bomb shelter vault.
Mm-hmm.
We only found the bodies of 9 men. So 1 man and the woman escaped. And of the 9 men we found, 8 of them were inside the vault, and were skinned. The 9th looked like it had been someone running, and he got as far as the passage off the swimming pool before he collapsed. And he was partly shredded.
You know which were the bodies identified specifically to the people in those videos? In that video, I should say.
I couldn't tell you. I mean, there was one that only had 1 arm. But one of them escaped. I couldn't tell you which one.
Rassam. I mean, a 93-year-old man's more likely to be identifiable from his.
Did he find
No,
two elderly men?
um,
The Rassam and the servant should have been fairly identifiable compared to the.
there were two men
Helmet
whose wrists were bound.
There we go.
So I think it's one of the ISIL guys that escaped.
Okay, Roger.
Okay.
So we need to think about a departure.
Yeah. So where's our next stop? Our next stop's in Iraq, and we've got to choose an ID.
I'll turn to Colonel Gwyn and go, this man's much more useful as a asset for intelligence than he has having a hole put in him. He may serve
I
us some
wasn't
more use.
his accusation that I was intending on shooting him is baseless.
Absolutely, sir. I wasn't intending to make any aspirations that way either, sir. I was just thinking, should we be in country and need a little bit of extra, perhaps behind the scenes intel, he may be quite useful. Can't make much noises if he's got two holes in him. Not that I'd intend that you probably do so, sir.
Well,
it's not exactly PowerPoint level, is it?
He glares at you at that.
I'll glare back. I couldn't give a fuck. He's a fat, overweight.
No, he's not. He's fit and athletic. He's just.
He's looking up to me.
Yeah, he's clearly a one of those bureaucrat officers. I
met many of them.
Yeah.
Just saying. Sir.
I will take your comments into consideration.
When Gwyn's not looking or exiting the room, I'll sort of turn back slightly towards Sloane and give him a little sly wink.
He grins. He grins at you.
See if it elicits a reaction. Yeah.
He grins at you.
C-17.
Sorry,
how we get there?
Right.
How we get from Germany to there?
So Gwyn now takes you back to the initial briefing you were in. Okay. I will retain. Sloane here for the duration of this operation, at least. He's already pointed out to me that there is no point. He said the same to you. There's no point interrogating him because everything he knows, they will have reset every single link, and I think his intention is to find some place to drink himself to death.
Remote islands around.
Right. Anyway, transport is waiting to take you to Kirkuk Airport, Kirkuk Airbase rather. While you've been away from this meeting room, someone appears to have been in and deposited another sort of aluminium suitcase in there. And Gwyn pulls a keychain from around his neck.
Quick hand up. Who's got the first briefcase?
Yeah, that's a good point. Gwyn is expecting someone to have clipped it to their wrist.
I think Tom's got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I opened it, so yeah. I also remembered the code.
Just wanted to check.
Right.
Yeah, you're the one who remembers the numbers.
Yeah.
What was it, Tom?
No
writing it down.
Operational security. Don't tell him.
No, don't tell him. Need to know. Need to know.
Sure.
Right.
It's 767492.
Correct.
Ha.
Right. Sorry, there's a second second case, which he unlocks with this has got a simple key on it, and he then hands the key to one of you who's taking this case. He opens it to show you what's inside it. It's got well, he says this has got everything we've managed to gather so far information wise. So there's all those documents, copies of all those documents I gave you. There is there's a non-transferable thumb drive with two versions of the video: the shortened one that you've just watched and the full footage. There's a sheet with some contact names and numbers and contact details for US and allied intelligence services within the region. There are also some shrink wrap stacks of $100 bills, and Gwyn says there's $112,000 there, all in bills dated 2002 or earlier. It's for bribes and anything else that shouldn't be on a requisition form. I trust that you know better than to try and steal it. As for anything else, requisition what you need through JSOC. You'll have a lot of leeway, seeing as your official mission is hunting ISIL bigwigs. The transport is waiting now to take you. Grab your gear and go to take you to Kirkuk Airport. Just be aware, it is the logistical hub to support Operation Conquest. So you'll be up to your armpits in Kurdish Peshmerga, Air Force and JSOC operators. Under no circumstances can any of them know the details of your mission. There is no telling how much Iranian penetration there's been in our allies over there, or Russian as well. But just presume that if you're talking to the Iraqi army or any of those Shia militias, you're talking to Iran. Remember that you're the team assigned to solve this problem. There isn't some other team working at some other base working on this as well. You are it. Now, good luck and good hunting. He then actually formally salutes you, even though none of you are in uniform. Okay.
The briefcase filled with all the various information.
Yep.
And that's a bit of light time.
Ask my phone
reading.
back as well.
Oh, sorry, he gives you your phones back. Apologies, he's giving you your phones back. Okay. Right. By the way, the phones were always on him. He's never passed the phones off to anyone else. They were with him the whole time. Okay. I think that's timing-wise a very good place to stop. So, thank you for anyone watching. Hope you enjoyed this. There'll be another episode in a couple of weeks' time. Our channel is called Wilderspace Gaming. There are various other games on there. There's a 5th edition D&D game called Modern Days that B runs and Tom and I both play in. There's also season 1 of a Twilight 2000 campaign that I GM'd and Chris and Nick played in. And there may well be other things as well in the future, but we're going to be working on Delta Green for the moment. But I hope you enjoyed this and come back to watch more. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Adios.
Bye.
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 Peace.